there's a person behind the profile on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or even this podcast. Bill and I are her human beings here, right? We all need to be treated as that. And in order to do that, you have to be your authentic self. You have to, and you have to share your stories. That's how we connect with others.
Welcome to the Sidehustle Lounge. If you're looking for flexible ways to earn income, grow your mindset, and live the lifestyle you've always dreamed of, you're in the right place. So lower the lights, grab your favorite beverage, and join your host, founder of NotaryCoach.com and Amazon best-selling author of Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent, Bill Soroka.
Cheers and welcome to my guest today, Mary Fain Brandt. She's the Chief Inspiration Officer at Mary Fain Brandt Consulting. Mary, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Bill, for having me. I'm really excited to be on the Sidehustle Lounge podcast and to be here with you today.
I've been looking forward to our conversation as well. I think our connection, our relationship is such a great demonstration of the power of LinkedIn. And I mean, you are a LinkedIn expert, so I guess it goes without saying that you would use that platform as a connection tool. But you did it so well, and you let your personality come through in really everything that you do. Everything that I see has a little dash of Mary. Actually, it's a heavy dose of Mary in it. And I'm really drawn to that level of authenticity. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. Authenticity is one of those buzzwords that everybody talks about right now, but I'm not sure everyone has an understanding of what it means to be authentic. So I wondered if you could, let's just start out with that. Tell me, what does being authentic mean to you?
Being authentic means that you're being your true self 24/7. So not just one. I always like to say, it's too hard to be two people, Bill. I can barely be Mary Fain Brandt, right? Just me. I can't slice me up and be one person online and a different person in real life. That's not being authentic. So if people see you online, right, they see your content, they maybe see a video, they listen to your podcast, and then they were to meet you in person, there would be a disconnect if you were not the same person on air versus in person. And I think that is what it means to be authentic. Be yourself, you guys. And you've met me online and then in person, right? I'm bold. I wear bright colors. I talk with my hands. I'm very enthusiastic and passionate about certain subjects. I'm that way online. And I love that you said there's little Mary-isms in there in my content and how I present myself. Because back in the day, Bill, when I first started my first business, True Career Coaching, I tried to put myself in a box. I tried to be this professional that I thought I needed to be online. And, I come from corporate, right? So you're in a box. You don't talk about your personal life. You're one person at work. You're a different person at home. Well, and I did webinars and stuff. And every time I tried to put myself in this box of where I thought I needed to be, how I thought my audience wanted me to be, I didn't come across as my authentic self. And you know what happened? I couldn't connect to my audience. They didn't connect with me. They were like, oh, she sounds like everyone else. Like I actually did a webinar and we had very low signups, not for the original webinar, but for the program. Because I didn't put my face on camera. I was afraid how I was going to look. I was afraid that, oh my gosh, I have notes. I have to read them word for word for the script I've worked on. And it didn't come through as being authentic. My voice didn't come through. I was scripted. I was like a robot. And don't forget to do this when you're on LinkedIn at 8 a.m. So that doesn't work. When I throw the scripts out the door and when I just go live on the camera, my authentic self comes through, mistakes and all, and that's okay because that makes me more human, which makes me more relatable.
And I think people are craving that. In fact, as you were speaking, it became clear. It's like everything that, let's say, people in the workforce in America or the business force or whatever it is, everything that so many people despise, those canned responses, sales, everything about those experiences or those interactions are usually tied to inauthenticity. It's people not showing up to the human experience, being salesy, almost slimy, because you're forgetting that there's a human being on the other side. You're not even showing up as your human self. So I think that's really the power of authenticity that you're talking about here. So when you finally did that, what happened for you?
Boom. I was more relatable. People were engaging with my posts. They were signing up to be my client because I was sharing my real stories. I wasn't trying to come off as, hey, life is perfect. My business is wonderful. I've never had any problems. That's bullshit. Okay. And at my point in my career and my life, if I haven't gone through some shit, then I haven't lived. Right. And it's going through that shit, those troubles, those experiences that give us the knowledge and the solutions to help our clients. I was a job seeker at 50 years old. I lost the job that I thought I was going to have forever. And that's a different story. So I was like, oh my God, who's going to hire me? What am I going to do? And I started my own business helping other women. I became a career coach, helping other midlife women, 40 and above, how they pivot, how they rebrand themselves. And so I really feel being yourself and sharing your struggles and sharing your stories, that helps you relate to your audience. And as you said, now more than ever, after 2020, they're like, screw that corporate stuff, throw it out the window. I want to know who Bill is. Day in and day out. What do you do? Do you have dogs? Do you have cats? I mean, I know because we've met in person and we chatted. And You're amazing and fun and intelligent and just, you're real. You are who you are online as you are offline.
I love that you brought up too, and thank you for that. I enjoyed our time together too. But you brought up sharing the challenges and the struggles that people go through. And I think you bring up a really great point, because there's this, I don't know where it comes from, because we all know it's bullshit too, right? Like there's no easy path. In fact, I would not want to take advice from somebody who has gone through life with not a single hiccup in a challenge and nothing's gone wrong and they've never had to pick up the pieces or they've never had to figure anything out.
Because they wouldn't have the real life solutions. They wouldn't have any real life solutions, and they're lying. So why would you want to work with someone that's telling you a lie? Bill, that, we talk about business and we talk about, you've seen these social media posts, these emails, these ads, how to go from $0 to $10,000 in your first month. I call bullshit on every single person that's posting that, because you don't go from starting business to $10,000 in your first month. You have been working on it, crafting your product, crafting your service, testing things. It just that maybe somebody has done it in their first year, maybe, but we both know we've had multiple businesses, you more than me. But we're both at different points now. And we can share what we did wrong or the lessons that we learned. Sometimes we have to learn lessons before we reach that great success. But those coaches that go, I'll take you from, if you're making $1,000 a month, you'll be making $5,000 in 30 days. Okay, you don't even know what I'm selling. What if what I'm selling is wrong? Like, how can you put that post out there?
Right. I think it taps into our human need to cut corners and to win the lottery, right?
And it's everyone's financial retirement plan. I'm going to win the lottery. I'm going to spend $20 a week
on
lotto tickets. You guys, put that $20 away in a savings account. You'll have more money when you go to retire.
Yeah, exactly. It's up to us as the consumer to take responsibility for that. I see a lot of blaming these marketers who are just, or I got a lot of pushback on the title of my book because I called it Sign and Thrive, How to Make Six Figures as a Mobile Notary and Loan Signing Agent, because it sounded like it was all about the money. And it's not about the money, but it's about getting somebody to pick up the book and say, look, there's something more to this. It's not a get rich quick book. But it's up to, there's so many other marketers that take advantage of that. And they just want to sell you this get rich quick.
A 90-day get rich program. Sign up for 90 days and you'll be making 10 grand a month. Well,
yeah, exactly. And it's possible for some, but you made a really good point. There's a lot of work that's going on behind the scenes, and that taps into this idea that we can just open the door and suddenly be making money. It takes away from the power of the work and the tinkering that has to go on. Like you're fumbling around a little bit and you've got to figure this out. I call it the becoming process. Like everything that we do, and we trip and we fall and we get back up again and we learn something new that helps us become who we need to become for whatever's coming next. Right.
I'm a much better career coach today than I was when I started in 2014. I also charged, I started at $750. Like, that's hilarious, right? It was like 5 sessions. Here's what you got. And now it's a much bigger package with a ton of more value, right? Yeah. We've expanded everything in that coaching program. It's not 5 calls, it's 4 months, and you get just so much more value. And so I had to go through all of that to develop what I knew my clients would need. And it's through working with the clients and staying on top of industry trends, right, that I could grow and create a better package. It didn't happen overnight.
You didn't have it all figured out when you started, right?
Oh my God, Bill, you called me out. I so didn't have it figured out on, month 1, 2, 3, or year 2 or 3. It's been evolving. And I finally feel like I've got this rhythm down. We're creating more, the packages have more value. I'm working longer with the clients. That's important. Something I try to make it shorter packages. I thought that's what people wanted. And why they want that doesn't work with lifestyle. Kids, family, working full time, building a side hustle, or, building, launching their business, and they realize they need LinkedIn and they need to grow their network and to connect with the right people. It takes time.
How did you, or what advice do you have for those who are terrified because they don't know everything about everything? So they almost don't want to move forward on their dream or their passion project. How did you do it?
So that's a great question. Mine was a little by necessity. So the backstory is I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. My dad was. He had a real estate appraising company, and it was feast or famine. We had money, right? And life was good, or we had no money. And so growing up with that, I was like, oh, I don't want to be an entrepreneur, 9 to 5. I know what I'm making. I'm going to work during the week and then I can shut off. Well, my mom got sick with early onset Alzheimer's and made the decision I wanted to be there for her and with her. So I had 2 great years with her. So I started a business not knowing jack shit. I mean, we talked about this before. One day I'm going to write a book, How to Save $10,000 Your First Year in Business, because I have SOS disease, which is shiny object syndrome. Buying every program and app, right? Like you have to, everything had to be perfect is what I thought. What I learned is it's better to do it in baby steps. Like, okay, figure out who your client is. How do you serve them? So I would say do research. If you're afraid to launch, then maybe it's not the right program or service. Like, I'm going to say that right there. If you're not that confident in it, maybe rethink it. Talk to people, do your research, do some tests. If you want to be a speaker, well, the only way to do that is to start speaking, and you can start at Toastmasters, right? You can go to Toastmasters and, practice your talk and see what kind of reaction you're getting, what type of engagement you'll get. And then you can go to small networking events. That's where my speaking career started, was at those free little networking events all around San Diego. And then eventually, obviously, it's grown into my own show, podcasts, summits, but we all have to start somewhere and you have to test the water. So do it in small bites, right? Do it in small
Excellent.
bite-sized tips or
You know what?
bite-sized nuggets.
I love that advice. And I'm going to go back to something you said too, is if you're not feeling really excited about moving forward, that can be, it
Red
could be
flag.
two different voices, right? Like one of the biggest piss offs in this life for me is that the language of the universe, or the voice of the universe that is like laying out the road for you, is the same damn voice of your fear and insecurity. Like it's the same tone sometimes. So you don't know what voice is going on sometimes. Sometimes it's like, I'm terrified to move, afraid because what if I succeed, or what if I fail, but the world needs this, right? But it's the same voice that says, maybe this isn't the right product yet. Maybe you haven't thought this through. Maybe maybe you haven't nailed it. You haven't provided the value yet. That's such a similar sound.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So one thing I've learned is to not react, right? I take time to think about things. When I react, that's when, impulse buying programs and apps, bad, Mary, bad. Impulse, like, I want to do 10 different things. That's great. You can't be successful at 10 different programs at once. So, set up your goals. What do I want to do in 2022? What are my 3 big, hairy goals? BHG, right? What are the 3 ones? Then break that down into what are 3 steps, 3 actions I can take to move closer, right? So break that down. So if you're deathly afraid, why are you afraid? You got to go deeper, you guys.
Yeah.
Why are you afraid? I don't have the resources. I don't have the time or money. That's a legitimate fear. So don't quit your day job, right? Start the side hustle while you're working full time. That is probably tip number 1. Mine was quit my job. I'm going to start. Don't know what I'm doing. Took a lot of money, threw it. It was like spaghetti at a wall. Some of it stuck. Some of it was wasted. So in retrospect, I was, taking care of my mom, but I would have gotten like a part-time job, right? So I had some income coming in, and then I would have gone through that first year of learning and developing my craft and understanding who my target market was. I probably would have done it a slower, I wouldn't have jumped off into the ocean. I would have dipped my toe or my foot into the lake.
Uh-huh. I love that you've brought up a couple times now, identifying your ideal customer. How do you do that?
Oh, that is a deep question. So that really depends on your service or product. I'm a woman who was 50, leaving a job security, didn't know what my next steps were. And I went to an outplacement service and I laughed. And it was an international outplacement service, for career professionals. I was like, I could do this better. And so the way my brain thinks, I created a binder with 15 tabs of everything you need to do for a job search, because I'm that color-coded, organized freak, basically. And I was like, I can do this better. And so I coached 2 women where I worked. Like I tested it. And so what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about helping elderly people? Then maybe you'll come up with a program. I'm passionate about helping women find a purposeful and meaningful career. And sometimes we'll start career coaching and they'll say 2 sessions in, I had this happen with Jamie. Mary, you're going to hate me, but you know what? I don't want a job. I want to launch a business. Sweet. Let's pivot. Let's do it. What kind of business are we talking? Do you have the skill set? Do you have the experience? And she did. So, who's your ideal client? Well, what's your product or service? Right? So that you really have to go into what's the product or what's the service? Who needs that? Who do you align with? I coach men, but my passion, my true, the clients that I work the most with, 90% are women. And that's who I want to help.
Yeah. Yeah. You're really clear on that. So if you were going to coach somebody on finding they just said, look, I'm sick of working for the man. I'm sick of being an employee, or maybe even, look, I retired and I can't afford to thrive anymore. I've got to create something. So how would you coach them into finding that passion?
So the person that's retired, but still needs to make some money, what did you do all your life? Can that be a consultant role, a contract role? That's That is easy to pivot. Not easy. It's going to happen overnight. That's an easy decision. Like I was a CFO for 20 years. We'll be a fractional CFO. That's a big thing now, right? You were in marketing all your time. Be a fractional CMO, chief.
What's
marketing.
fractional mean?
So that means they're not hiring you full time.
Nice.
They need consultant, right? So it's called fractional. So you might have like a 6-month or a year contract. Fractional. And they get so many hours a week or a month. Because the small to mid-sized business, they don't need to hire a CMO or a CFO maybe, right? For 100, 150,000, I don't know, 200,000 a year. And with today's world, remote work works, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to be in the office to be the CFO. You don't have to be in the office to be the CMO. So someone that's retiring that has an expertise in something, I would say look at consulting and training.
Excellent. Excellent. And if somebody worked customer service for 30 years of their life, and how would they spin that into something?
Again, that could be a consulting role. So in 2021, we are moving away from traditional 9-to-5 jobs. We all saw that happen. It's going to continue to rise that we have consultants, contractors, fractional positions, right? So I would do some research and see if that's already being done. Does someone have a customer? Maybe you're a trainer, customer service training, right?
Yeah.
So why not, customer service inside and out, what's working. Did you go through it this last year? Customer service online is huge. Right?
Huge, right?
You rarely go into a store. I don't. I order everything almost, except my groceries. I still go to the grocery store. It's my outing. It's my get out of the house moment.
It's your weekly outing.
Costco, here I come.
I love it.
You can do online trainings.
Yeah.
Reach out to other people. So my number one tip is you better be building your network on LinkedIn because they're going to serve you now and in the future. And there is someone on there that can mentor you, all it takes is one person to introduce you to your next client, to your next job, to your next, investor in a company. Maybe you're a cook, right? Maybe you love cooking. Maybe you solved a problem for your family during the pandemic. What was that problem you solved? Do you think other people had that problem?
Excellent point. And so I think people discount, they take it for granted. So things they might be good at, they just assume everybody can do that, but that's just not the case.
It's not the case. And the other thing I want to bring up, because a lot of times, and I don't know if this happened to you, it's happened to me. There's hundreds of thousands of LinkedIn trainers out there. Who the heck? Why would somebody hire me? Versus the Beth, the Judy, the Isaac, the Viveka's. I can go on with some of the top rated LinkedIn trainers. I've partnered up with them now. It's more of a collaborative, right? So we always think competition, but I want people not to get discouraged if they're like, well, Mary, I'm really good at marketing. I'm semi-retired. I want to keep my foot in the door in marketing, but there's thousands of people that do what I do. Yep, there sure are. There's hundreds of thousands that do what you do. But what is your personal brand? Yeah. And that's another thing, Bill. If you don't have a personal brand, as a career professional, you must have a personal brand in 2021 to stand out in the sea of sameness and shine online.
I think that's excellent advice, because the differentiator, what makes you different from everybody else, is who you are, which ties us right back into authenticity, right? And how you show up. Yeah. And I'm going to take us there, but you mentioned something too. And I know even through my own coaching others, and not even just in where I got my where I'm at right now as a mobile notary and loan signing agent and a notary coach. But before that, because I had started so many businesses, I used to guide people along. And what they would do is they'd have this great idea, and then they'd Google it and research it, and somebody else was already doing it. So they would immediately get deflated and think they couldn't move forward. What advice do you have somebody who thinks they have to be the first, the only trailblazer?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you that everything's been done and taught. This is 2021. We have taught people how to cook, but there's still chefs. We still go to restaurants, right? The book we all have read, right? You still created another book, Bill, right? You wrote a book, although there's a gazillion books out there. So it's really not about, oh my gosh, there's already hundreds of people that do what I do. It's how do you do it differently? What do you bring to the table? Because you don't, so on LinkedIn, you guys, there's, 770 million users, right? I tell people all I want is 0.0001% of those people for clients, and I'm set for life. I don't need 770 million users. I don't have the capacity or the brain band, right, to do all that. So the world is a big place. There's enough business for all of us, right? And so you got to get rid of the negative Nelly. And we all have it, even myself. I'm sure, Bill, you've had it like, can I do this? There's already, so many notary coaches out there. Who's going to hire me?
Right. All the time. And that inner critic, it's so funny. I get to say it so much, but my inner critic's a real bitch. So
does she have a name? You need to name her so you can say, Betty, get the F out of here today.
Name the inner bitch. I love it. Or the inner critic, I guess. It's not always.
If it's a bitch or a critic. I don't know. I don't know. Mine's probably a female because, we're toughest on ourselves. We're hard females are hard on each other. And I we need to change that. And we are working on changing that in my circles. But my inner critic is a female saying, who the hell do you think you are, Mary? Or,
that is, mine says
work more hours. And I tell people I am not the entrepreneur up at 11 o'clock at night working, because that is not why I started my business.
How did you just make that determination? Like, did you consciously decide, all right, this is how I want my life to look? So this is what I'm going to build my business around how I want my life to look. Is that what you did?
Yes. Set your boundaries, set your goals, do them at the same time block, create your schedule. You are not launching a business, or you are not in business to work 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. I don't believe anybody starts a business to do that. Will you have busy seasons? Absolutely. During my masterclass that we launched the first week of August, July was crazy. And I was working more hours, but my ideal schedule that I'm still working on, okay, this isn't Mary's perfect and got it all figured out. I'm working on a 4-day work week, right? And I want to work about 6 hours a day. That's my sweet spot. Now, nice. I only do client calls Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? I do live shows. I'm in a mastermind. I do live shows and recordings on Wednesdays because it's typically the day I get all dolled up, hair and makeup and stuff. So I do my show on Wednesday mornings at 9, my other show at 5 o'clock. I do recordings like this. I have set up my schedule. Fridays, there are no client calls. There are no meetings, so that if we're traveling, it's not a problem.
Right. That's awesome. Do you ever feel guilty?
No.
Nice.
Never. Why would I feel guilty? This is my business. I get to do what I want.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean that last night I worked till like 6:30 because I was working on some projects, and that doesn't mean, you guys, I don't want you to hear this and say, damn, Mary's got it all figured out. I want that. I don't have it all figured out. That is what I'm working towards. But I do not book calls on Fridays because my husband and I travel. So, that Thursday to Thursday afternoon, I'll be like, no calls after 2 sometimes.
Nice. Yeah.
We're traveling because we like to go back to San Diego. So we'll leave Thursday afternoon. We'll do long weekends. And my goal is to do 2 long weekends a month.
That's awesome. Well, and it sounds like travel, and you've got friends and family over there too. So that's an important part of your life. I think one of the most powerful lessons I have learned, that finding the right mentor, the right coaching, the right training can be extremely beneficial. And I've invested thousands of dollars into this one program. It turns out that the program was like the opposite of what I wanted my life to look like, right? Like it was just this super engaged, high energy, constantly in front of cameras and live events. And I was like, whoa, that's not what I want my life to look like. But how I found that out was before we even started the workshop, the leader of the program took us on gave us a guided process for figuring out what you want your life to look like in 3 years and what you want your ideal day to look like. And when I built that, it became very clear that what I had just spent like 10 grand on was not what I wanted. So, but I find that as probably one of the best $10,000 I've ever spent, because what if I had done it and built and invested and did all of that and then resented going to work every day?
Yeah, created a lifestyle that is not what you really want. So I think that, and I started when we moved. We moved to Arizona last year, and I was working. Everyone should know I was working full time as I was building my business. I've worked off and on after losing my mom in 2016. And when I lost my cushy job in San Diego, I was like, that's it. I'm all in on my business. We're moving to Arizona, honey. You got 2 months, find a job. And that was huge for me because I've lived in San Diego my entire life. So moved somewhere I know nobody during COVID. My husband starts a new job. I go all in on my business. Like, there was a lot of change, and I was beating myself up the beginning of the year that things weren't where I wanted to be. And my friends and family are like, you just had massive change going on during COVID, because moving during COVID was not fun. It was very expensive and frustrating. Lack of trucks, lack of homes to find, Right. So I have learned to give myself some grace, but that doesn't mean you get to be lazy, right? Mm. So as an entrepreneur, you might think, oh, well, I don't really have to get up today. I don't have any client calls. My saying is, you get up every day and get dressed. Get up every day, get dressed, whether you're working 6 hours at your computer, talking to clients or not, but create the schedule that makes you happy so that you don't resent it. So I like to, I'm an early bird. I like to get started early, and I like at 2:30 is I need to take a break. And my husband works a different shift, so I spend a little time with him in the afternoon. And sometimes that'll be it. Like 2:30 is like, I'm done for the day. And then sometimes I'll get a second wind and I'll go tackle a project.
I love that. I love that you've built that in. In listening to you, it sounds like you've got a pretty compelling why. You've got a reason this business needs to work for you. Can you share that with us, or would you share that with us?
Well, my why was my mom, right? I started because I wanted to spend time with her and be her advocate. I did have to put her in a nursing home, but I made sure I was there 3 times a week, right? She knew who I was up to the day that she died. And I'm happy about that. And I believe in my heart it's because I was so present. I was there all the time. So my why was my mom, so I could be there for her. The why has evolved into we're here in Arizona. I wanted a mobile business, right? So that we could move anywhere, because having a high salary job in San Diego keeps you there, right? The money keeps you there. I'm not going to lie. It kept us there until it was no longer part of, my package. So I wanted to create a lifestyle that I create the hours I want to work and doing work that I love. Like, more than anything, Bill, I love coaching and consulting. And it's not even just about the LinkedIn or the career stuff. Like, that is what I do. It's the transformation within the people. And it's the confidence that comes through the coaching. Like, that's a byproduct. I don't advertise, hey, your confidence level is going to triple. It's just what happens when you're being coached and you're feeling good and your online presence is popping. My new tagline is, I take you from boring to badass on LinkedIn.
I love that. Yeah.
Right? Because who wants boring? I want you to stand out and pop. And a lot of times women especially are afraid to bring their personality onto LinkedIn because it's the quote unquote professional platform. And I'm like, let's bring it. You love Harleys, rock music? Well, let's talk about that. I just signed a client who loves fly fishing, and she's going on a camping trip. I'm like, I want 5 photos. And I want one of you fishing, and we're going to say that I already got the caption all planned out. I'm throwing for my next, my next career move, looking for my next opportunity, fishing for my next opportunity. Like we're going to have a whole series of that. So I probably went way off topic there.
No, that's actually really, really great. And a great demonstration of your passion, like why you love what you do. Yeah. I thought that was fantastic. And this is this is a perfect blend to authenticity. I want to go back there because I'm sure there's still, people hear it all the time. They're getting to see it and witness it with you and hopefully with me right here in this conversation. But there's still a little part of them that questions it. So what do you think gets lost if, number one, we don't define what's authentic for ourselves and bring that to the world?
You're not going to connect with the right people. And at the end of the day, it's all about building relationships, whether it's personally or professionally. So if you're not being your authentic self, you're not connecting and you're not building your authentic network online, your authentic friends. Like, think about it. You're also, at the end of the day, I always say H to H, human to human. There's a person behind the profile on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or even this podcast. Bill and I are human beings here, right? We all need to be treated as that. And in order to do that, you have to be your authentic self. You have to share your stories. That's how we connect with others.
How do you remind yourself of this lesson of sharing your authentic self, or even just reminding yourself who your authentic self actually is? Do you use affirmations or any of those tools?
I do talk to myself in the mirror. Is that what you're talking about? You are great.
Exactly.
You're courageous. You're beautiful. You're smart. You got this, Mary. I do. So I do, like, once in a while I do that, but I'm a woman of faith. So like I have a lot of conversations with God. I'll be like, okay, God, is this what you want me to do? So when my mom passed, I had 0 clients. That's a true story. I was like, God, am I supposed to be a speaker trainer? I'm not sure. I'll go get a job. So God and I have a lot of one-on-one conversations, and he'll give me answers. Sometimes they're not the answers I want, or the solutions I want. But I do affirm myself. And I look at other people who are authentic online, and I get inspiration from them.
Nice.
I see other people putting it all out there. I'm like, that's right. You go, girl. You share that story. Because it's through sharing the stories and telling our stories that we can actually help and inspire and encourage others.
Absolutely. Totally agree. If it doesn't get too personal, I wonder if you can share. You just mentioned that you asked God in 2016 after your mom passed. You had no clients. You had no evidence that you were on the right path, but you asked God if this was what you're supposed to be doing. How did he answer, or she answer?
Well, I do think God's a guy. So God answered me by giving me a client for like $97. That's not a lot, I know. And then an opportunity to teach for $300 at ITT Technical School in Chula Vista, which is now debunked, right? So I had these like breadcrumbs, and then we rebranded. Then someone reached out and said, oh, you bought this, you bought a marketing session, and Stephanie knows that you lost your mom. Do you still want to do it? And I said, yeah, I bought it. Let's do it. And I didn't know what was going to come of it. And the LinkedIn Bakery was born. The LinkedIn Bakery honors my mom because she was this amazing baker. And I have that skill set. She did a lot of other things, but I didn't inherit the painting and crochet and sewing. Not that gene. And so the LinkedIn Bakery, serving up bite-sized chips, was my second business, right? When we pivoted. And so that is what gave me hope. And so then I invested. And there's times even like moving to Arizona, not knowing anyone here, again, COVID, no networking, like very small business community that I'm connected to here. I was like, okay, God, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I need to build this business, to something even greater to achieve the goals that I have with my husband of buying a house and going to Ireland and all of these big goals. And he continues to show me. And this last month, he definitely has shown me through clients, through relationships. It's not just about the clients, but amazing relationships with people and other opportunities that, Mary, this is what I made you for. I created you to be a speaker and trainer. And I know that training is what I do well. I get very passionate about it. So, talk to God, talk to your friends, watch other people that inspire you. There's nothing wrong with seeing someone on a podcast or a live show that inspires you. You're like, yeah, I love that. I can do that.
And I think that's one of those, sometimes those are one of those kernels that are left for you. It's like, hey, you need to hear this. You need to get lit from inside or whatever it is. And I think that's the important factor as well. If you're going to ask the universe, ask God, ask your friends, ask an expert. If you're going to do some research, don't forget the listening part, because you're going to be getting an answer from somewhere. But you got to be aware and you got to be ready for it when it happens, because I truly believe that the universe conspires to make all your dreams come true.
And I'm so glad you brought up the word universe, because I'm the person who talks about everything. I don't know if you guys can tell. I talk about everything and I put it out there to the universe. And probably 3 months ago, I literally was putting things out to the universe. I'm telling my family, I'm telling my friends, and I'm like, okay, this is what I'm asking for. I need this. And the universe and God are giving it to me. And I think we have to be specific when we're asking. Don't say, I want a new client. Is that a $97 client or a $9,700 client? Like, right. How many clients do you want to sign up this month? And at what price point are they? Are they female? Are they male? Is it an organization? Is it a one-on-one? Is it a VIP? Like, I'm getting really specific on what my goals are for my business, and I'm hitting those goals.
Awesome. And that's a really good point. That clarity of your vision makes all the difference. If we get too vague goals, vague results. But the more specific you get, the more specific your results can be.
And I think when you're more specific, your mindset changes. So what I want to say is my mindset changed. I did a boot camp for speaking gigs. How to get, what does that look like? And when I went through that, a lot of it I knew, but I got 3 golden nuggets, and it changed my mindset of what was my goal every time I spoke. If you speak twice a month, that's 24 speaking gigs. If you get 1 client per speaking gig, that's 24 new clients a year. That could be $36,000.
It's huge. So, and you're kind of describing what changed my life as well, which was reverse engineering, right? The shit has hit the fan in my life so many times when you have 26 business failures, right? Like that's going to happen. And when I finally pulled my head out of my rear end and I realized I had been avoiding habits and routines, thinking I could just make it without being disciplined at all, not moving forward every day. I got clear thanks to the Miracle Morning, and the habits that evolved from there were my daily do's. But I was able to build my daily do's, like my business habits every day, because I got really clear on what I had to do. I knew, and I used a dollar figure at the time because I was broke. So I knew what I had to make, and that was an easy measurement for me. So I said, all right, what do I need to do to make this much money? What's that going to look like? I need this many loan signings at the time. How do I get that many loan signings? Well, I need this many clients. How do I get that many clients? I need to make these many business calls or cold calls. That I couldn't do cold calls, so I warmed them up. But that's how I did it, and that's how I decided what I was going to do every single day. And when you have that kind of clarity, like waking up at 3 or 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, I was ready. I knew exactly what I needed to do. It changed my entire my energy, everything. Like I knew I needed to wake up and do this, and this.
And you knew that doing these was moving you closer to reaching your goal.
Exactly.
I think it's so important that you said reverse engineering. I have a friend who wants to make X amount of money. You know this friend. No names will be mentioned. But I'm like, okay, how many clients is that per week? How many clients at what price? Is that an $80 signing, a $50 signing, a $200 gig, you got to get clear, because just saying, I want to make $2,000 a month my first few months. Okay, great. How are you going to make that?
Right. Exactly. And so that's exactly. Well, I'm going to talk to her. I got a plan for that.
We're laughing right now. So you know who you are, because she knows that I'm on your podcast today. And she's like, oh, I can't wait. I was like, I'll let you know when it comes out. But
Yeah.
we will be calling you. No name mentioned.
Right. Exactly. So I want to also talk about the stories. You brought up the importance of sharing a story, and there is so much power in story, and people discount it all the time. But there's also a fine line, and I wondered if you could help delineate that for us too. So, what's the line between vulnerable authenticity and then oversharing?
So let me start with stories sell, facts tell. It's really important to understand. We're all here for a business, right? We're creating a business. We have a business. We want more business. Your stories make you more relatable to your audience, to your network, to your clients. But how do you be vulnerable and your authentic self in telling a story? So there's a saying, and I'm probably going to get it wrong because this is what I do really well. You want to tell this story like of a bad, something, a struggle that you went through. You want to tell this story not when the cut is bleeding, but when it's healed. So if you're in the middle of a flood, I have a client. She had a flood, lost everything. I'm like, this is a story. She is a project manager for a personal project manager and divorce concierge, right? And we're talking paperwork that has to be filed and stuff, right? So I'm like, this is a story to tell. I go, I know you can't tell it right now because you're in the middle of it, but when you come out of it, you can share the struggle that you went through to educate others of why you need your paperwork in order. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally makes sense. And I think the quote you're looking for, I got this from Brene Brown. You share your scars, not your wounds.
Thank you. I never can say it right. You share your scars, not your wounds. See, I was like, don't share when you're bleeding, when you're going to bleed out.
Knifing herself. I know you guys can't see it, but she's literally slitting her arms. Okay. Don't do that.
Yeah. So share the scar, not the wound.
Not the wound.
I got to write that down because I never get that right. I know my brain knows what I want to say, but that's being my authentic self. I'm going to mess that up every time.
I love that. And I think that's so important. And it's not about ranting and raving, right? It's about going through some shit,
inspiring,
finding the lesson in it, and then sharing that journey.
And you don't do it right away, right?
Yeah, right.
But keep that story somewhere. Get organized, you guys. So another thing, use a tool, whatever it is. If it's paper and pen, a laptop, Excel sheet, Google Doc. When you're going through it, you're thinking about it. So when I talk to a client, Bill, every single time, I'm like, you're going to have 3 pieces of content within 30 minutes. It happens. And so you have to, when you come up with that content, I don't know if this happens to you. I'll come up with great ideas. I got to go put them somewhere because if not, I'll forget them.
I use Evernote. I use the Otter app. It records and transcribes my thoughts. And then I always have my Moleskine notebook with me. So
I
gotta write
put a lot of things in Airtable when I'm at my computer, or my best thoughts come to me while I'm driving, which is great because I get a lot of great thoughts when I used to drive a lot. Now I don't drive a lot, so I'm like, I'm not getting all these great ideas while I'm driving, but I whip out my phone and I use the voice recorder. Yeah,
that's a good one too. I get them in the shower. Yeah, check out Otter. The shower and driving, I get my best ideas, and these. The shower, I have a design for a shower pen that literally it will hang in the shower and Bluetooth. So it will track your pen so you can write and it will shoot by Bluetooth into your computer. I have the design for that, but I can't find an engineer to build it for me yet. It's on my list of $1 million ideas.
I love it. Yeah. Cause a lot of people would want to do that.
Exactly.
It's techie. Like who doesn't like a new tech gadget?
Yeah, if it works, I love it.
If it works. Yeah, if it works.
Exactly.
So yeah, just be, okay.
As we so getting back to the stories, I know in my audience, convincing people they have a story to tell is the hardest part. They think they have to have a flood or this traumatic event that would be a lifetime lifetime movie for television event. It doesn't have to be that grandiose.
It doesn't have to be
right?
that level of storytelling. It can be, your story can be how, as a notary, right? Like, can I talk to notaries?
Yeah, we got lots of notaries that listen.
Okay, that's what I thought. So as a notary, what about the story that you went and helped this elderly woman get something signed because her husband was sick? You don't have to mention a name. You don't have to mention the location. You're telling the story of how you helped someone. Someone's going to read that story and say, dang, I need to get those POAs done.
Right.
So, and it could be a leadership coach. He's also a client leadership coach. He's also the coach of Little League for his son. I was like, oh, I won't say his name. Hey, so-and-so, that is a great story. Let's talk about that. And he made a story about how coaching Little League, we can learn so much from coaching a Little League team. We're actually building the leaders of tomorrow. So he tied it back into his business.
I love that. We get opportunities like that every day. Here's the difference. Some people are looking for those and then other people aren't. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking my life's too boring, who would care about any of this? Look for the story. When you start looking for the story, you find it. In fact, I'm a huge proponent of the idea that you find what you're looking for. So if you're looking for stories, if you're looking for some dots to connect, some way to blend things, it will start revealing itself more and more for you.
About changing your mindset. If you're already saying I'm boring, I have no stories, yep, you're going to stay right there. But if you open up your mind, start changing like, I don't think I have any stories, but I want to find some. Is it at the coffee shop that I go to? Is there a story there that I should share? I love coffee. So tag a great coffee shop. I mean, every time I go to a local coffee shop, I take a picture and I tag it. One day I'm getting a free lifetime supply. It's going to happen.
It will happen. Exactly. I love that you bring that up because it doesn't always have to be about business, right? You don't only have to tag about powers of attorney and living trust and loan signings. It could be about your mechanic, your coffee shop, your favorite restaurant. Like one of the favorite things I do is I love breakfast. So when I would go on these early morning signings, I would find a little breakfast joint. I love supporting local. So I'll go in and order, it depends on who's listening. If my doctor's listening, it's just plain eggs with nothing on them. Egg whites, exactly. And for everybody else, it's chicken fried steak with gravy and eggs.
When are we going to breakfast, Bill?
Right, exactly. Well, I've got some great places. But I love taking a picture of the food and tagging them in it, talking about it, sharing that journey. It shares a little part of me and what I'm passionate about, but it also might help support local business too.
Yeah. So I'm a big proponent. I say the 80-20 rule, 80% professional business stuff, 20% who are you, what do you like, where are you at?
Great. Great.
So I think that helps people because people got to know who you are, Bill. They want to, in today's world, as I said, we have the smartest consumers in the history of the world. Why? Google and LinkedIn. They're best friends, the search engine, they work well. So people can Google you and find out everything they want to. And they want to know who we are as business owners. What are we passionate about? I posted the check. I donated funds to Benavia, a local organization that supports seniors. That post is like blowing up. And I want to bring awareness, right? That when I hold a masterclass, we're donating the proceeds and I'm helping my online community and my offline community, right?
Yeah.
So that's
blending the two worlds. Yeah.
Yeah. That's important to me that I'm helping the local community where I live and that I'm helping my online community. That's part of who I am.
Yeah. And I think that's important to come through because we do business with who we know, like, and trust. And I know that's a cliche and it's
true.
But it's so true. Like I'm particularly susceptible to it. I will, if I like a restaurant owner or the staff treats me in a great way, but the food's kind of I will still go because I love supporting people who I know, like, and trust.
Because you connect with them, because
Exactly.
they're taking good care of you.
They show me who they are.
They're laughing at your jokes. You know, they're showing
They're in if you laugh at these jokes.
Cat, you know,
Yeah.
so because there's it's about building that relationship. From the coffee barista that knows your name and gets your coffee right.
Right.
To the restaurant that they have your table. Bill, you have a restaurant that has your favorite table. I know this personally.
I feel seen.
You know, but what does that break down to? That breaks down to relationships, connecting, cultivating the relationships.
It really does. And that's a perfect segue. And we've been here for almost an hour now. And I know your time's so valuable, Mary. I know it went by so fast. But when we're talking about that authentic connection, there is, and I want to speak specifically about connecting on LinkedIn, because I think even though LinkedIn has 770 million users, I think it's probably one of the most underrated platforms for connection today. So specifically talking about LinkedIn, there's a right way to connect and a wrong way. And I'd like to spend some time just describing a right way to connect, an authentic, genuine, human to human connection, and then maybe an example of what not to do.
So you want to connect with a person. There's a person behind the profile, right? So always H to H, human to human. So the best way to connect with someone on LinkedIn is to look at their content. What are they posting about, right? Comment on that content. That's going to put your name top of mind and tip of tongue. Then a day later or something, or maybe the same day, you can send them a connection request, right? You send them the connection request with a personal note. If you just send a blind connection request, I am not going to accept you unless we were in a training together and I said, just send it to me, or we're in person. That's the only time you send a blind connection request. Connection requests that are sent with a personal note have a 53% higher acceptance rate. Why would you waste your time on a platform and send blind connection requests and only have a 47% chance of someone accepting it? That seems kind of silly and a waste of your time. Don't overthink the in-mail note, that little note that goes with it. Talk from your heart. A lot of times I'm like, oh, hey, Bill, I saw that you checked out my profile. Or, hey, Bill, I liked your side hustle podcast, or, you know, your side hustle, your post. But I think mine to yours was, hey, my girl, blah, 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 said that you're pretty cool and I should connect with you. And you wrote a LinkedIn book and you're in Arizona. I'm new to Arizona. I'm building my professional network here. Can we connect? It was literally silly, right? It's a little silly. It's not perfect. Talk from your heart, write from your heart, connect with that person behind the profile. That's how you should do it.
I was just looking up our initial conversation because I think this is a really good example. Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh.
I'm trying to get to the beginning of the messages, but you talk a lot.
my thread, the in-mail thread.
Yeah, the in-mail thread.
That's because that's where our conversation lives.
Yeah, it's so true. Do you mind if I read this?
No.
Okay, I think this is a really good example. So this is from Mary to me. This was our very first, this was her connection request, I think, to me. So my friend just mentioned your name in a conversation, and so I had to look you up. I recently moved to Arizona, and I'm looking to add strategic connections to my network. How about jumping on a call? Stay fabulous and informed, Mary.
Yeah.
That's that little sprinkling of Mary in there. And of course, you know, I get hit up all the time, and I'm like, I don't know, but this one was had so much personality that I almost immediately said,
and I told you what I wanted. I'm not selling you anything. I'm looking to build my business community, a local business professional community. I'm not inviting you to anything. I'm not selling you anything. I'm trying to connect with other business owners in Arizona. I was very clear. on that.
Exactly. And then, some people are getting a little more strategic with this. They sound warm and friendly in the first message. And as soon as you accept them, they sell something. So give us an example of how not to connect on
that
LinkedIn.
Guy, his name is the used car salesman. That's what I call that message. And there's a lot of them. And they're like, oh, great. Here, I'm hosting an event. I thought you'd be interested. Or, hey, I see that you're a coach. How would you like to get, I just had this happen. The message was, how would you like to get 50 leads? Is it 20 leads a week or 50 new clients a month? I said, whoa. I go, first off, that's too many clients for me for the work that I do, because I put a lot into each client. I said, I'm not interested in that. I go, and you didn't even take time to, get to know me. So if you connect with someone and your next message is to sell them on a program, to get them on a webinar, to get them to hire you for a book writing, for a website or whatever else, I'm like, you just ruined your reputation. I'm probably going to delete and block you. Right. I don't have time to go through all those messages now. You need to connect with the right people, cultivate the relationship. You don't go on a date typically and kiss the person on the first date, unless you're me and my husband, because that actually did happen. It was kind of an accident. I turned my head. Anyways.
Whoops.
Whoopsie. But you don't go on a first date, right? And make out heavily. You get to know the person, and then, you build up to that. You have a phone call. Maybe you meet for breakfast if you're or lunch or dinner, if you're in the same, area, the same community, but you need to nurture the relationship. You need to cultivate, get to know that person, and never ask for anything or never give them anything. Don't ask for anything. Just get to know them, and then give it time. As in all good relationships, get to know them. How can you help them? Who can you introduce them to? Continue commenting on their posts. That is the biggest way you can cultivate a relationship.
I love that. That's such good advice too, because once you're connected, then start paying attention. Just like if they were a friend, see what's going on. What they share, comment, share their post if it's appropriate. And when you share, make a little comment. It's not enough just to hit share and keep recycling stuff. Add some commentary to it. I love this advice, and I love that you said if you're selling in the first message or the second message or the third message inappropriately, you're ruining your reputation. And that reputation, that's your personal brand. And it's so huge.
And you're really ruining it if you do it to me, because I'm going to use your message as an example in my training. And
yeah.
I sometimes or sometimes not block out your name, because I just get so frustrated when someone sent me 3 automated messages. I just said, here's what this woman sent me. Month 1, week 2, week 3, I was done.
That's another really great point too, is this automation. You cannot automate authentic relationships.
You don't automate your relationship with your best friend or your coworker. You can't automate online relationships. And that's where people miss the biggest opportunities, because you could be pissing off someone that's really great. There was someone who had reached out to me, and I'm like, if they hadn't sold me, I looked at their profile, if they hadn't been that dirty car salesman in that second message, I might have had a conversation with them. But because they tried to pitch me right away, I was like, you're out, dude. You're so out. I'm deleting you. I'm blocking you. I don't even answer those anymore.
Yep. There's something I feel almost bamboozled when that happens, right? Especially if they were good at the initial connection and they show a little bit of who they are, and I'm like, oh, this is an authentic person. They're interested in me and building a relationship. And then when that second message comes through and it's like, I see you're a coach, or I've got this program, or I wondered if you could do this for me. It just feels...
It's because they hired the wrong LinkedIn consultant to train them on how to send 50 messages a day. It's a numbers game. Send 50, you'll get 5 replies. Out of that 5, you book 3 calls. They hired the wrong person, or they come from the old sales mentality where it's a numbers game. call 100 people, you'll book 20 calls, you'll sign up 10. That's not the way it works. And you're ruining your reputation, especially if you do it to me.
To wrap that, that's a really good point. So to wrap this up full circle too, is there are people on this call right now that do exactly what we're talking about. I was one of them at some point until I learned otherwise. This is about growing and becoming. So this isn't about shaming people. This is about learning and becoming. So what advice do you have to someone who's maybe not been in the loop on how to connect authentically or correctly on LinkedIn? What advice do you have to shift that and go forward?
So, look at the person's profile, check out their content, send a simple, short, sweet message, the first message when you're connecting. Tell them what you liked about their content or read their profile. Maybe they volunteer somewhere. I've had people do that. Say, oh, I see you volunteer at XYZ. I used to volunteer at a similar organization. Keep it short, simple, to the point. Tell someone why you're connecting. I connected with an HR director just because his headline said HR recruiter, dad, and possibly Batman. And he was in front of what looked like almost a Batmobile. And I said, dude, I just liked your picture. You had me at possibly Batman. Are you Batman posing as a recruiter? Like, it was funny.
Right.
So, and it wasn't obscure funny. It was the right level of funny for LinkedIn, right? Because if you want to be funny in your message, know your audience, keep it clean.
Yeah.
Clean funny. But just be yourself. You're going to connect with the right people when you are authentically positioning yourself, when you are authentically in your messaging. You're not trying to be this. If you're not a corporate square in the box, then why would your messaging sound like that? Oh, I see we have mutual connections, Mary. I see you're doing great work in the field of coaching. You don't know that I'm doing great work. Yeah, you're looking at some words I put on LinkedIn, which shows you that I know what I'm talking about, but you don't know me.
Right.
That's not an authentic message. I still haven't connected with that person. It's sitting in my network. It's been there for 2 weeks. I don't know if I want to reply to him. I haven't.
You got to think about it for a little bit. Yeah. Well, and you brought up a really good point there too, that you'll connect with the right people when you show up with your personality and authentic self. And that's a really good distinguishment too, because I think there's a lot of people who are just afraid. Well, maybe their expectation is that they have to be everything to everyone. And this is business. So you've got to
I'm not the right cup of tea for everyone. And I know that. I can't serve everyone. I'm a solopreneur with a very small team, but I also know that my brand and my style isn't for everyone. And that's okay. Because then we wouldn't be a good fit. Right? I'm fun, informative, casual, conversational. It's through the conversations that the magic happens with my clients. If you're not someone who wants to talk, you're probably not the right. If you just want someone to sit and write your profile for you, I'm not the right coach.
That's a really, really great point and a great demonstration of what it means to show up and be used. So I want to respect your time. We're going to go ahead and wrap up right here. Thank you so much, Mary. This has been amazing. I really appreciate your time. Guys, if you'd like to connect with Mary Fain Brandt, please visit the VIP room of sidehustlelounge.com. She's got an awesome Facebook group for the LinkedIn Bakery, plus lots of other great resources too. And I'll have links to all of that inside the VIP room. Mary, thank you so much.
Woo! Thank you, Bill. See you guys later.
Thank you so much for listening to the Side Hustle Lounge podcast. If you follow me on Instagram and social media, you already know that my pets play a huge role in my life, and I include them as part of the family. They are part of my why. Dexter and Violet bring so much joy and love into my life that I always want to make sure that they are well tended to and healthy. That's where my Toto pet insurance policy comes in. Toto was voted Best Pet Insurance Company in 2021 by Forbes Advisor, and it's known as the pet insurance company with a heart and without the gotchas. There's no network of obscure vets that I'm forced to choose from, so I get to pick my pet's doctor. And then, depending on the policy I select, I can be reimbursed up to 90% of the vet bill. And they make it easy to use. You visit any vet, you submit a claim, you get cash back. It's pet insurance finally done right. If you'd like to support the show, get coverage for your own fur babies, and maybe even give yourself some peace of mind at the same time, get an instant quote today on Toto's easy-to-use website at sidehustlelounge.com/Toto. That's TOTO.